Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's still morning, right? Just barely. Just barely. Good morning. I'm Pete Leach. I'm going to be doing the discussion today. Hopefully involve you in this. It's a nice size of group. We can have some dialogue. The purpose of today's presentation, as you can see from the title, is really about two topics, digital marketing and driving sales for Halloween, and how to fit those two together. Obviously, I'm very passionate about digital, and I'll tell you all about that. But I'm also a big fan of Halloween. It's my favorite of all the holidays, and I'm sure you guys share that, but just really exciting. And I think there's a unique connection between digital and social and the things going on there, and just the nature of the holiday itself, Halloween, and also just all celebration. They're both inherently social, so they're fantastic counterparts. So I'm going to talk a lot about that today. Just as a show of hands, how many of you are here as retailers, own a store? Okay. Great, the majority. And then how many of you operate an e-commerce business? All right, so quite a few of you. We're going to spend most of the time today talking about how to use digital to drive sales to store, but there's a little slice at the back that talks about e-commerce as well. And of course, I'll stay behind after if we want to have dialogue. I'd love to do that and get to know you guys. So, all right, without further ado, let me just jump into this. 2 seconds on me. So I'm Peter Leach. I'm a consultant with the Partnering Group. I help companies with their digital marketing and e-commerce initiatives. My background is I ran e-commerce for a couple of companies, we have either as their chief marketing officer or as the GM, general manager of the e-commerce business as a whole. One of them you might know is called Chico's. It's a women's apparel business. So I ran their website. So anyways, just a background flavor. What I want to cover today are these topics. So I want to spend a few minutes just to talk about the explosion of digital and how it's changing consumers. How really consumers are changing their behavior and what that means for us. And I want to jump into 3 specific recommendations for how you could drive more traffic to your stores. Some of them will also be very effective to drive traffic online. And then I'll wrap up with a little bit of a discussion about e-commerce. As many of you have e-commerce businesses, that'll be some stuff that you may already know. Those of you who are considering it as an option, we'll have some dialogue about that. And then we'll have some Q&A at the end and have some fun along the way. All right, so I thought I'd do some research first before I came out here because I'm not an expert in what you do. And so I looked up some information from the National Retail Federation. They do a study every year, and they size how big Halloween as a whole business is. So this is just Halloween, but it's everything around it. And it was really exciting for me to see this growth. I mean, we've been going through tough times in America, but this growth is fantastic. You can see these bars stacking up to 2011, where they recorded $7 billion as the size of the Halloween industry. So fantastic. And if you think about the typical e-commerce share of that is about 10%. So about 700 million of that is probably done through online sites. But the data we have recently from Forrester suggests that as much as 42% of all purchases made anywhere are influenced by a pre-shopping visit on the internet or on a mobile phone to the internet, but it's basically digital, right? And you all know that. I mean, how many of you will check online before you go shopping? Right? And probably for an increasingly larger number of products today than maybe 5 years ago. Might have been a really just considered purchase 5 years ago, but now we check for everything. Why not? Find a customer review, find out some information. So anyway, so it's really changing. So my point here is that, yes, the e-commerce piece is a big part of total Halloween, but the influence on this 7 billion, Forrester says that about almost half of that is being driven by people visit online to find out where to go and what to buy first. So what that means for us is it's just critical that we master this tool set to drive our businesses, large, small, medium, no matter what. We have to learn how to do this. And when I say this, I mean the kind of the broad definition of digital, which is really broad. You'll hear a lot of people define it differently. But I mean to speak to the whole world of it. Email, Google, paid search, how do you get ranked on Google, all the way out to how do you promote through affiliates, how do you use YouTube, which we'll talk about today. So the wider world of digital has a lot of components to it. So I said I was going to talk a little about the digital opportunity. This is an interesting data point. They get this data every year at eMarketer, and it basically shows you what percentage of a consumption of media in a given day for the average consumer happens on different types of media. And what's always interesting to me is I've been watching this for years, and the share that people spend on TV and other traditional media like print and magazine keeps shrinking, but it's shrinking much faster now. So right now, if you look at this headline, it basically says people spend more time on the internet than they do in print and radio combined. So on a day in, day out basis, you can see that internet number is about 2 hours and 47 minutes every day spent on the internet, average. I'm sure some of you have teenagers in your family or that you know of that spend a lot more than that. Obviously, there are larger cuts, and people are smiling on their heads. Yeah, I know a kid kind of probably has a different pie chart than this, but that's the average. And another point that's interesting is that when you put mobile and internet together, they get close to the size of TV. So combined, probably in the next few years, the average person in the U.S. will spend more time internet and mobile than they do even watching TV and video. So what this means for us, again, is just another sort of call to us as business owners to really master digital marketing, because if you don't, that's where your shopper's eyes are, and you won't be connecting. So that's the overall idea. Another key data point, we did a study and surveyed 3,000 consumers, and they basically told us that they think shopping is social because they're joining social platforms. About 77% of all the consumers surveyed, who were all online consumers, they had an internet access, had joined Facebook or Twitter or another social account. So the percentage of Americans that are on social is just huge, right? And that's moved up since this study. I think it's cresting around 80 almost now. That's percentage of all U.S. internet users that have joined social is around 70–80%. But we were more interested in whether or not they had any interest connecting with retailers, right? Do they want to connect with us? And 42% of that whole group said they had followed a retailer. And of that group, they said that on average they followed 6.3. So not just one here or one there. They're following a lot of retailers. They are, in effect, interested. And when we asked them why, do they want to connect with retailers, what do you think they said? Sales? Is that what you said? Yeah. Deals. What's new? Actually, that came up big. So it was 56% said deals and sales, and they want to know about that. But 46 said new information about products. They actually not always just wanting a deal. They want to know what's hot. Especially, when you think about this industry, it's what's new in the costumes and the party decorations. And there's also the deal component, I'm sure. Every business has that. But it's a big part of what's new. That's why they're signing up to Contact. So the good news is they're engaging with us. Are we ready to engage with them? Another big trend in this whole digital change that's hitting us as business owners is mobile phones. How many of you have a smartphone? Okay, so that's a large group. You guys are pretty digitally savvy. So this thing is changing the world of internet and digital marketing, because before you could say, well, I own a store and the internet is outside of my store. That happens in people's, in their living rooms where they keep their computer, and no longer, right? So the internet is now in your aisles. And what consumers have said is they are quickly using it on their shopping trips to gather more information. They're doing price comparison. I don't know if any of you guys saw the Amazon foray. They have an application that you can download, scan any item with the barcode, and it'll give you their price point comparison. So you thought you could run from Amazon, but they're coming in your store in the pocket of your customer, and they're going to price comp you. Pretty scary stuff, right? But if we prepare, we think about how to get around that, how to manage that, you could be the one that they're looking at through their mobile phone, and that's the key, right? So the idea here is, from this data set, was 90% of the mobile users that were surveyed by Yahoo, and this was last year, said they had searched on the internet while in a store. And what they were searching for was interesting. About 50% of what they looked for was about shopping. 48% said they had taken a photo of a product and sent it to friends or family. Why would they do that? What do you guys think? Because it's cool, right? It's cool to say, hey, look, check this out.
But they didn't buy it.
But did they buy it? Yeah, I don't know. Are they just taking a photo? They're looking for feedback? And some people are so real-time, especially when you look at the younger demographic of America. They're so on it all the time. For them, Facebook is almost real-time. So there's someone's posting, they might get a post back within minutes while they're shopping to confirm or deny whether that's cool.
They know their friends might still be.
Right, so they're helping them, right? They're saying, well, I've done some of your shopping for you, and I can give you insights. And you have certain people who are influencers. They're like, in all of our families, we have people who are either, they're just more digitally savvy, so they're always communicating, they're always networking, and we look to them, don't we, for like what's, is that cool? Is that be worthwhile to wear? So especially when you talk about costumes, this has got to play into it, because for Halloween, you want to hit it right. You want to look right in it, and you want to be timely. So the tie-in here could be very strong. All right, so enough on that. You get the picture of the broader scheme of things. We're all going digital at hyperspace. Mobile is invading the store, and it's a social world. So given that, what can we do about it is the question. So I have 3 suggestions, and I'll go through them real quick. It's not the world of what you could do, but it's a start. First one is to really focus first and foremost on making sure your site is search friendly. And I'll explain what I mean by that. The second one is capture the visit. Once you do get people to visit your site, how do you convert that into something beyond a bounce? And the third one is going social in the store. And we can talk about how that works also for online, but social being such a huge opportunity worth digging into. All right, so for the first one, it's all about search-friendly websites. And what I did is just an example. I went to Google and did what any of you could do. I went and put in Halloween costume, and I got 31 million results. Some of your websites, I'm sure, show up in there. But here's the bad news. Only about 6 of them really exist. The rest of them will never get seen. If you're not above the fold in the first few, it's like you didn't show up at all. So this becomes a difficult world. That's why people pay the fee to get into these paid ads here and along the side. But the trick there is, for many companies, that's just not economically viable. It costs sometimes $2 to $5 per click on some of these things, especially during a peak season right before Halloween. It can get crazy expensive. And bigger companies with huge pockets can convert on that better. So is that the solution? It can be part of the solution. But really, the real key is to get found in the free search component. So can you get found for Halloween costumes knowing there's 31 million? Maybe that's not the focus, but I think you can get found on a local basis. Because let's face it, a lot of consumers are putting in the qualifier of where they live because they want to find out someone nearby. That's important to them. When I did a search for my town, Kirkland, Washington, for Halloween store, I got very different results. I actually got a great result. I got a local party store with costumes that had great assortment. And I was curious, though, 2 other players that I knew were in the local area didn't show up at all. So I went hunting for them, and I think it was on page 2 or page 3 I found this, which is where they showed up. Costumes in Kirkland AOL Yellow Pages. It wasn't even their website, but they showed up. You can see Pacific Northwest and Masquerade Costume. Be perfect results for me. They're right nearby, but they didn't rank. That to me is really a painful scene, because they need to get shown under that kind of a broad search. So why didn't they make it? I don't have the perfect answer, but I'll give you some hypotheses after working with lots of different companies on how to do this. And by the way, it's not just small companies that have these issues. Huge corporations are constantly dealing with this. They have teams of people that just figure out how to make sure that their information is showing up, getting found, getting ranked. So here's some of the issues. Sometimes the code that's behind the scenes, we don't really see it. I'm not, I'm technical, but I'm not a coder. But I do know that the code behind the scenes is sometimes so gnarly and messy that it actually dissuades the accurate distribution of your information through the search engines. The other piece is the sites get really slow. I mean, you put a couple cool videos and photos up and you don't set them up the right way and your site goes to a crawl. The crawling bots that go over your site do not spend a lot of time. They've got millions of pages, billions of pages to crawl. They're not going to spend extra time in yours, so they move on. You don't get indexed. The other piece is no links. This was a phenomenon that kind of came up about 5 years ago, but your website needs to have links inside it to other pages that are relevant. It also needs to have links to other websites. This is just one of the indicators to Google and Bing and Yahoo that your website is valuable and it is of worth, because look, other sites are linking to you. I call this backlinking, and it's important. Pages not indexed with Google. That's a really big one too. You know, people just literally haven't gone through the webmaster steps to get indexed. So to Google, they don't have any pages. They're a website, but they don't have any pages. No videos and no social links, and we'll talk more about that. These are critical pieces to getting ranked high. So things to look for, just little tidbits as you progress down this. Here's an interesting snapshot. So there's a tool you can use that'll scrape a website and show you variable issues with your code underlying pieces that are messy, incorrect, causing problems with somebody who is trying to index the site from a search engine standpoint, right? This is one of the two sites that I told you was having difficulty on the second page, and you can just see the litany of issues. I don't even know if I can tell you exactly what each and every one of these are. I mean, it's just problems with how HTML code is written that make it really hard for that site to be crawled. Another tool you can use will tell you things like how do you, sorry, go ahead. Follow up with me afterwards and I'll tell you some of them because there's quite a few and some are paid for and some are free. I will tell you this one is SEO Rush. You can have your website scanned here and it tells you things like, you know, what pages do you have that are indexed, meaning have been sort of cataloged by Google. This is important for you to rank. In this case, they didn't have anything indexed. This is a big issue. And you can even get things like, you know, do you have WC3 errors? Other things like, are you indexed within Yahoo and Google? These are just very basic things that every website should know. If you're not getting indexed, you don't look like you really have a lot of pages, a lot of content, and that's going to drive Google to pick someone over you. All right, so at the end of the day, what's the recommendation? It's sort of do a checkup. You need to get a health checkup on your website, especially if you launched it a few years ago. Basically, websites are dead in a year, and it's going to go faster than that. I mean, just the technology moves on. Code that you've written is old and dead. The functionality is old and dead. You know, people don't want to hear this, but I have to tell them, in some cases, you're better off just scrapping and starting over. And the good news is, though, it's a lot cheaper now than it was maybe 5 years ago. A lot faster now. The technology is much more standardized, and I'll come on to that at the end. So, just a final thing. You know, we talked about mobile phones. It's important that if you do a rebuild, make sure that your site will show up well on a mobile phone or on a tablet. I'm not saying you have to optimize it for these tools for your business, but you know, you want to be able to visualize the product. This is just the way people are going to shop. Okay, so that was search-friendly site. Just a bunch of tips. Hopefully some of that will work for your business. And then the second piece is capture the visit. So what I mean by capture the visit is, so you start to get this traffic into your site. The question is, what happens next? And what we find in most sites is that there's an extremely high bounce rate. What I mean by bounce rate is, bounce rate is a metric that says, no matter what first page someone comes to you on your site, they've seen that and left. That was it. That was their experience. In fact, just a tidbit, most people believe that the traffic that visits their site goes through their homepage. A huge amount of it. The homepage is only like 30% to 40% of your traffic. The rest is coming in all over the place because people find search links that'll drive them down to a product level or to where your information is about your location. And so that's going to be important because when they land in those different locations, they get confused. Sometimes don't know where they've landed. It's not a good result. So then they back out and they're gone. And the bad news is they don't come back, obviously. They're not very patient. You have seconds, maybe sometimes portions, milliseconds to really connect and drive them through. So the trick is to make sure that you get through to a next click or some additional step while you have them there. And one of the most important things is to try to capture an email. And you'll notice a lot of websites are out there giving a discount if you sign up for email. And the reason why is they know that that's the case. They spend a lot of time and effort getting somebody to show up. They've got to get some hook to be able to reconnect with that shopper ongoing. And I really believe in that. I think that's the foundation of a good business for digital. So that said, let me just show you those case studies. So these are, it's an example of one of the companies that was having a hard time showing up in the search was this Pacific Northwest costume business. And their site was full of great product. Definitely their store was nearby and had anything that I would want to find for a costume was there. But what I found stunning was they had a really big opportunity because my next action was I wanted to call them or visit their store, and I couldn't find that information at the top of the site. And I know you guys are saying there's no way people do this, but they do. I mean, I go time and again, and it's either too small or it's still, they think it's there, but they haven't really looked at it like with fresh eyes. I'm just saying, have some people that you know and love, people that work for you, take a cold, fresh look at your website and just ask them, do they getting what they need right off the bat? I counteract that with the site that showed up really well, Party and Display. Their header was great. They said, you know, we got stores in Seattle, Everett, Issaquah. You click on that and it brought up the menu. And here's our phone number, right where you'd expect it, and a help button. They're really just saying, I know you're busy. Here's the info if you just want to find out where we're going. And by the way, this is also critical because many people will be in their car, they probably shouldn't be doing this, but looking at Google Maps, trying to figure out where you are. If it's not in the header, they're not going to scroll around and figure it out. So it's really critical you put this instant get-to-me kind of information up front. Focus on providing those basics, a phone number, location, a map link. Map links are going to become really important again because of the mobile component. And then focus on capturing when you get them their emails again. Facebook likes and Twitter follows. You can put buttons on your site that say follow us on Twitter. The only thing is there's a little bit of fatigue there, so I think it's important that you provide the call to action information about why. Why would I want to do this? And you might think, well, that's obvious because you want to get great news from us. But it really isn't. You have to sort of say, you're going to get information. And I'll show you someone who does great call to action a little bit later. But tell them why they should become a fan or a follower. Okay, so that leads up. That's a nice layup to the next section about go social in stores. This is my third one. Then we'll talk a little on e-commerce. So how many of you who are business owners have a Facebook company page? Okay, good. So I'd say it's about half, maybe about 60%. That's great. But I'd encourage you to also make sure you have a corporate presence, corporate company presence on LinkedIn, have a Twitter account. These are YouTube. People don't do YouTube because it's kind of foreign. Oh, what does that have to do with commerce? These are all important for SEO, for being search engine optimization, for being found. They're just another place that says, Google says, oh, I see them there. I see them there. Oh, I see them there. And they're all linking. This is a good source of information. I'm going to rank that higher. By the way, it doesn't take more than 5 minutes, so it's worth doing. And then you can use tools like Hootsuite. It's a funny name, but it's a software tool to allow you to manage in one place multiple locations because it can get a little crazy. Like I want to post just one time about a new sale that we're doing and I want it to be on all of these different locations. Hootsuite's a nice little tool to help you get there. And there are others, by the way. I'm not particularly calling them out. Here's another thing. Some of the businesses I've been talking with today, they run smaller operations. Pick someone on your team who's on the floor and say, look, you got a mobile phone, right? Yeah. You got a smartphone? Yeah. You can get to Facebook? Yeah. Use Facebook? Yeah. Manage it. While you're here today, take photos of things. Show pictures of customers that are happy or satisfied. Ask customers if they'd be willing to have their photo posted on the website. And believe me, they'll say yes. They'll be delighted. They want to be the star. They're in a crazy outfit. They want to be seen. And they'll say, send the photo to me. Engage that level of dialogue. People will go, not all. Some people are more shy, but you will find that that's great. And just taking photos of new products as they come in and posting. You have a few minutes between waves of customers. Use that time to be marketing all the time. Another key thing to talk about is some examples of how people are doing Facebook in particular really well. Spirit has just done a fantastic job here. They have nearly 800,000 fans, which I can tell you is big for anyone, right? I'm talking all of retail. You have much bigger companies that don't have this kind of focus. And I think it's two things. One, they do a good job. And two, it's Halloween. It's a social thing. And they encourage people to use their brand as a way to share their experiences in Halloween. Their pre-experiences, their shopping experiences, how they decorate their homes. Great photos of crazy home executions that are... I wanted to read it just because I thought it was great fun to see how people were celebrating. One of the things that's really basic and boring, though, is the information page. Most people will put two little tidbits on Facebook. It's not enough. Look at how much content they put in there. Keywords, links, company overview, where they're located. The stuff is important because it's out in the internet. It's going to wind up being a part of how they get sought out through search engines. It also increases their ranking on Facebook itself. Second thing that they've done, which I really like, is they've executed a good fan gate. A fan gate is a simple way to do call to action in Facebook. It's an application you load to your Facebook page that puts a graphic up and says, here's why you should like us. You can't see content until you like us, and here's why we do this. And what this does is it gives people a reason to want to like you. And I think they're very clever. I mean, this is all down to copy. Like us if you dare. I just think that's really clever, right? Anyone can do this, a little bit of copy thinking, think of some concepts, create a small, simple graphic. When they click like, that goes away and they have access to the Facebook page. That's basically it. This will drive a lot of signups. The other thing you might want to look at is doing stuff in store. Create a promotion where people can do X or Y and encourage them to upload something immediately, whether it be a comment or a tweet or a posting on their Facebook page or on yours, or optimally a photo of them wearing something. That would be the impact. The idea is get them to like you or become a fan right there while you have them. If you think they're going to do it afterwards, I'd encourage you to consider that they're just too busy. They're not going to do it. Don't give them a card. Encourage them to do it right there as a part of a promotion. And then if you do want to go to the next stage, Facebook ads can work. I don't know if you're familiar with Facebook ads. They're small ads that typically show up on the right-hand side of the screen, and they're for everything under the sun, but they're really targeted. That's the real benefit. They are a little expensive, though, I would say, but you can drop it right on your locality. So if you want to just do it to drive to a store, I think it's a pretty good way to target those kind of shoppers. You can target by demographics, zip code, all that good stuff. Here's an example of a really good user-generated content promotion. That's a fancy way of saying, you know, you could win $1,000 if you upload a video of yourself reviewing product. What they get out of this is, no matter if they get a lot of people to participate or not, they're getting content that's going to enrich their experience. And people love videos on Facebook. They like them, they share them, they comment on them. Videos are also ranked highly by Facebook in people's feeds. And I'll explain a little bit about that as well. So I just thought that was a really good example. This one they did is, show and tell. Basically make a video of yourself giving a review of what you've bought, and you could win $1,000. I can tell you something, though. My experience has been the dollar amount of the giveaway has nothing to do with it. It's about the fun and about being a star. People just want to win. It's a human phenomenon. I can't explain why. I did promotions for a $5 Starbucks gift card and had thousands of people sign up. It's not the dollar amount. It's really the chance to win. I mentioned this, but there's this term you should be familiar with as you engage with Facebook, because some of you may have experienced that when you post things to friends you know have been fans of your business, they might say, I never saw that. It never showed up in my feed on my wall. I thought every time we posted, everyone would get it, like email. But it's not true. Facebook sorts the best, what they believe to be the best or most relevant content of all the feeds that could come to you into the summary that's on your page. Looks like, well, you don't even see this, but this is the place where you can toggle as a user and say, I want to see all things. You can say, I want to see highlighted stories or recent stories. But 99% of consumers don't even know that they can toggle. They think they're getting everything, but they're not. Facebook is making choices. There's just too many things coming at you. So they pick the top ones. The way that they do that is through this thing called EdgeRank. And if you don't master it, everything that you're doing basically gets seen by no one. Shows up in the master feed that they never see. EdgeRank is defined by three things: affinity, weight, and time decay. That's a really fancy way of saying, did anyone click on the stuff that you posted, or any of their friends click or interact with the stuff that you posted? Even one action, one like, will raise the likelihood that what you've posted gets seen by other people. The other one is weight. Weight has to do really with the content itself. It has a lot to do with, is it a video? High weight. Is it a photo? High weight. Is it just text? Not so much. So Facebook knows what people value, and they give that higher, again, ranking. It's a lot like Google in a way. And the last piece is time decay. It just means, is it old or new? So the fresher it is, the more likely it's going to show up on someone's feed. Again, it's just like email. If you send it and you don't master these things, you're going to wind up in the spam box. It's like you didn't send anything. So no shock that you don't get any sales from it. No one comments about it. No one mentions it when they come in your store. So on the flip side, if you can do the things that help, you'll really drive it. So there's things like adding images and video. Really critical. Again, they don't have to be beautiful. Take your iPhone, snap in the store, show product, upload. That's the kind of stuff I think people want to see. Ask for sharing. Again, we talk about call to action. You have to say, what do you think? Or share your comment. Or tell us what you think. Ask people to vote. Ask people to share their voice. You have to actually ask. And that will drive people to say, well, okay, sure. I'll comment. It's a 90% difference, really, between night and day between asking and not asking. And that'll help your posts really get shown. So again, in the end, you really want to drive photos and videos, ask and encourage sharing. And I'll ask you guys one thing. I'd love to have one of you guys email me later, next Halloween, after you've done one thing. Do a contest in store where the best photo of you in your costume will win X. And execute it in store and on your website and really push it and send it back, because I know someone's going to knock it out of the park. This is the way to do it. This is the perfect kind of campaign. You can name it however you want it. You spin it however you want it. But that's, I think, the key to unlocking Halloween for this business. Okay, so that's get social in the store. I want to spend just a second on e-commerce. I'm not going to go into great depth on it, and I'm happy to take questions afterwards, but many of you have e-commerce sites and are trying to get more juice out of them, or you're thinking about adding e-commerce to your current website. So there's just 2 points to share with you for your thoughts. One is that it's never been easier than today and cheaper to start an e-commerce business. The software has literally gone to free. There's stuff called open source software, and it is literally free. You pay nothing for it. Now, it doesn't mean that it's free to stand it up and sort it out and load it and get it built into a site. That's a long shot difference from 5 years ago. The other piece is you've got this thing called the cloud. Everyone talks about the cloud. It's basically much easier hosting options. You used to have to buy a server and load software. All that's really basically gone. In a few clicks, you could be hosted in an environment, and it's all virtual to you. Someone's got your software. They're handling it for you. Your site's running. So that's all great. The bad news is that's lowered the barriers of entry so low that we have an incredible influx of competitors, not just in the U.S., but worldwide. You got guys from the far reaches of the world competing in our market for our consumers on your products. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that the bad news is once you got the site, it's harder than ever to get people to come to it. And more expensive, as we talked about Google and the costs there. It's also tough in this industry, I know, because you guys have holidays and they're brief windows of time, and so it's hard to catch that wave. It comes and it goes really quickly. And the last piece is the competition is driving up the media costs. So that's not to say don't do it, because I'm obviously passionate about e-commerce, just to know that 2 things to consider. One is you might want to do the first 3 steps with your store and build an email file, really build that up, build your Facebook fan base up, get customers engaged with you. Then when you roll out e-commerce, you have a first wave of people you can contact digitally to say, shop from us online, and that'll start the baseline growth of your business. Then you can lay on paid and other media. But to start cold would be expensive. And the other piece is just to do your profit and loss math before engaging in it, and make sure that you're really ready to pay up to invest in the customer acquisition you have to do to get the business going. But I still do encourage it, because it's definitely going to be a big part of the future, is buying directly online and shipped to your home. And another final thing is I have noticed one thing. The successful .com companies I've met here on the floor today all have one thing in common. They've picked a niche. Right? They've got a merchandising niche that's really tight, and they go after it insanely focused. And so that gives them an edge. A generalized site that carries everything that Amazon has is going to have a hard run. So just a couple thoughts, and I definitely encourage people to jump in now, because as I said, it's easier than ever on the tech side. All right, so that's basically it. You have my ideas. You have e-commerce in the pocket. I hope that's been helpful. I've really enjoyed chatting with you. I'm going to stay afterwards, but please feel free to send me an email or a comment if you have a question. I'm happy to ping back, and I wish you all the very best Halloween 2012, and I hope you can ramp up digital behind it and win. Thank you.